Hi there and welcome to the channel, and to this, the second in a series of videos I'm making on the great Norwegian writer Knut Hamsun. In the first installment I spoke about Victoria, which was excellent, and today it's the turn of this book, The Wanderer. Now The Wanderer comprises two novels, Under the Autumn Star from 1906 and On Muted Strings from 1909, and they in turn form the first two parts of a trilogy which is completed by The Last Joy, which I plan to review in due course. Okay, so having completed the preliminaries, we're now ready to turn our attention to Under the Autumn Star, and we'll begin with a brief summary of the story. So the story begins with the titular wanderer and narrator Knut Pedersen, actually Hamsun's real name, strolling through a forest on an island. And as the story progresses, we learn that he's an educated urbanite who occasionally is gripped by fits of wanderlust, which propel him out of the city into the countryside, where, to conceal his social status, he dons the attire and assumes the rough manners of a common labourer. And in this guise, he goes house to house seeking occasional work, such as felling trees, painting buildings, and performing agricultural labour. The first instalment comes full circle, ending with Pedersen back in the city, but what it also does is introduce us to a number of characters who reappear in the second part, and these can be divided into masters and mistresses and those who serve them. So let's begin with the workers, and the first of these we encounter is the odious Grindhusen, whose version of loyalty is to praise his current master to the skies while bad-mouthing his previous one, an approach which tends to fall apart when his current master maltreats him. Then he will begin suddenly to recall that his previous master wasn't such a bad egg after all. He's also guilty of schadenfreude and takes great delight when Pedersen is suddenly fired from his job, so a weak, resentful character with no redeeming qualities whatsoever. After completing a number of jobs in the company of Grindhusen, Pedersen is understandably anxious to escape from his company, and the next travelling companion he takes up with is Lars Falkenberg, a conman, who has many impressive letters of reference which he wrote himself, one of which declares he is a first-rate piano tuner, a title to which his only claim is possession of a tuning fork. And with this, in the company of Pedersen, they go house to house with Falkenberg tuning pianos, and during one of these gigs, Falkenberg's fine singing voice comes to the attention of the mistress of the house, and he becomes something of a local celebrity, being invited in the evenings to entertain visiting members of the local gentry. And this inflates an already considerably sized ego, and he treats Pedersen with increasing disdain. He's also a self-declared ladies' man, and his misadventures in love provide much comic relief. Of the various masters and mistresses we encounter, the most important are Captain Falkenberg, no relation to Lars, and his wife. Their marriage constitutes a tragedy which we join in its third act, with the pair barely on speaking terms, and during the captain's frequent trips away with his regiment, Pedersen does everything he can to insinuate himself into the good graces of the Madame, having become infatuated with her. She rebuffs all of his advances, and the only intimate encounter they have is one winter's day when Pedersen performs the office of carriage driver on a trip to a nearby town. And the highlight for him is one moment when the freezing Madame calls for his assistance, and he climbs down from his box and presents her with his blanket, an act of chivalry which becomes for him a treasured memory. Lastly, there is Pedersen, our narrator, a man who is at once both an active participant in and a keen observer of the world around him, intelligent, inventive and free-spirited, and possessed of enough practical good sense that he doesn't allow his yearning for Madame to stop him taking full advantage of any sexual opportunities that pass his way. So, all in all, a charming rogue who is thoroughly good company. And he's never happier than when he's wandering through the forest with money in his pocket, a bottle of wine and some grub in his pack, dreaming of what awaits him at his next destination. And I'll just read you a brief passage from one of these episodes, and in this one he's in the company of Lars Falkenberg. We meet the finch, that sparrow of the woods. He has already made a tour of the forest, and now he is on his way back to the humans he likes being with and getting to know from every angle. The strange little finch. He is a bird of passage really, but his parents have taught him that one can survive a winter in the north, and now he in turn will teach his children that one can only survive it there. but he still has the migrant blood in his veins. He is still a wanderer. So one day he gathers with his flock and journeys the length of many a parish, to a quite different set of human beings, whom likewise he means to get to know. And suddenly the aspen groves are empty of finches, and a whole long week may pass before another flock of these flying creatures settles once more in the aspen groves. Dear God, the times I've watched the finch, the entertainment he has given me. So there we have it for Under the Autumn Star, but what about the second part on Muted Strings? Well, this novel jumps forward 6 years. Pedersen slowly makes his way back to the Falkenbergs, and when he arrives, he finds himself in the midst of a drunken party which has been going on for weeks. The Falkenbergs and members of the local gentry are indulging in all kinds of lewd behaviour. Affairs are being conducted in open view. It can only end in disaster, and it does. And the rest of the novel constitutes a huge hangover, during which the Falkenbergs' marriage completely disintegrates. 3 new characters are introduced. Firstly, a young engineer with whom Madame Falkenberg has an affair, Niels, a conscientious foreman who tries to revive the fortunes of the Falkenberg estate, and finally, Ragnhild, a young maidservant who is my favourite character. Ragnhild is testimony to the genius of Hamsun. Because of the structure of the novel, we only see events through the eyes of Pedersen, so we need a go-between inside the Falkenbergs' house, someone who is privy to their private conversations, and Ragnhild fulfills that function. But what makes it so great, what makes it genius, is that Hamsun makes her a natural-born spy who delights in ferreting out other people's secrets and sharing them. And the moment she overhears something interesting, she can't wait to race down to Pedersen night or day and tell him with breathless excitement just what she's heard. And so not only does she overcome a technical difficulty in the narrative, but she's an amazing character in her own right, and her crowning glory is when, after Pedersen installs thick carpet on the staircase of the Falkenbergs' house, she looks down and says, "This is great. Now I can run up and down the stairs and no one will hear my footsteps." So there you have it. Not just one great novel, but 2 this time from an absolute master. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope what I've said may have encouraged you to pick up one of Hamsun's novels and try it for yourself. If you've already read some of his other works and wish to tell me what you made of them, just leave a comment below. But now it really is time I must go. Before doing so, I must of course bid you farewell in time-honored fashion. So until the next time, be safe, be strong, nanu nanu.